Welcome to the show. We had an interesting week with presidential primaries. Bernie bankers were breaking bad, and a woman chose death over the possibility of choosing between Trump or Clinton. Jim, what's up with these headlines?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this has been an interesting primary season. This week, I guess nobody's really paying that much attention to the primaries anymore. At least I'm not. Washington was yesterday, and 44 delegates, and Trump won. Go figure. I guess nobody's really paying attention to these things. I guess even though Hillary has not been suggested as the nominee, is she the presumptive nominee?
I gotta think. Can
According to the
Bernie
media,
even,
she is.
Well, yeah. I mean, can Bernie even pull the numbers to beat her at this point? I don't think so.
If the Superdelegates suddenly decided that she was a liability, he could.
Or if she ended up in jail.
So,
That could
but here's the
definitely
question.
put dampers in there.
Now, seriously, could the Superdelegates come back to haunt her based on the epiphany from the report that happened this week that said that, hey, she really didn't do well with those email things?
They certainly could come back to haunt her, and I think, one of the problems and one of the benefits sometimes of the superdelegates in this particular case is the fact that they're not married to whomever they initially pledged for. They can change their mind. And I think, anybody in their right mind, if you have a candidate who might be headed to jail, might make a decision to change their vote.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't think she's headed to jail, though. I really don't. I think she's going to have her golden parachute and escape charges, and
I think
all will be well.
I think the problem is that the powers that be, the DNC, they want Hillary. That's the deal. So I have a hard time thinking that Bernie's gonna.
Well, and I think
come back.
that's a very undemocratic part of the Democratic Party electoral system is the fact that, yes, sure, the voters get some say in the matter, but they're shutting out independent voters. And at the end of the day, it's all the party insiders that really get to make a decision, because they represent almost, a fifth of the total number of votes needed to get the nomination.
So not that this is beat up on Hillary night, but the other argument that I've heard that has somewhat taken hold in the past week or so, or a couple of weeks, is this thought process that she talks about supporting women and the women's rights and so on and so forth.
But not the right to self-defense.
But the problem is, historically, people were questioning where was she when her husband was doing potentially unthinkable things to women, and there was a report that came out that said that women are as underpaid in her organization as they are nationally. How do you reconcile that?
Right. Well, and let's not forget the Clinton Foundation accepted money from Saudi Arabia, and how do they treat women?
Yeah,
But
Terribly.
not so well.
Chair of the Human Rights Foundation or
Oh.
group within the UN.
Well, what I think is interesting with Hillary Clinton is that she wants to distance herself from her husband when, we're talking about sex scandals and his mistreatment of women, alleged mistreatment of women. But she wants to, snuggle up next to him when we're talking about the economy, and she wants to put him in charge of revitalizing the economy. It's either he's fair game or he's not fair game, right?
Well, I don't think consistency is a part of our political process, but to be honest, I think, she is not, as with a lot of the politicians that we seem to be nominating in this country, she is not who she seems to be or claims to be. She's a product of a political party as opposed to actually being a genuine
Well,
candidate.
and it's funny you say about political parties, because so I follow Republican and Democrat pages on Facebook, and I'm seeing both of them are kind of in panic mode, in that they realize, oh, hey, our candidate right now from the primaries does not have enough vote support to win, and I'm seeing all these posts like, a vote, for a third party is a vote for Donald Trump, or a vote for a third party is a vote for Hillary Clinton. And it's like, wow, really? I mean, we got to resort to that kind of tactics that,
They're going to resort
scare
to
people
any
into it?
tactics they can. This is the most powerful position in the world. What is off limits?
So why
with this?
didn't we do better with getting nominees?
Well, but
Because of the two political parties. And I think, Ken, you bring up a very good point. And that point being that they have nobody to blame for driving people into any direction other than themselves.
Yep.
So
And that's both parties.
You're
Exactly.
absolutely right, because they have, each of them have had the ball for an extended period of time over the past 20 years, and each of them have failed miserably. We talk about a $19 trillion debt, and when there's a Democrat in office, we talk about it being the Democrat fault. Well, let me tell you, GW did his part to increase the
Yep.
debt.
And last night, as much as we may want to beat up on Bill Clinton for all of his personal failings, before George W., the debt was going down, and
It
it went
was.
right back up.
The only economic problem the biggest economic problem that Bill Clinton has in his legacy at this point is the Community Reinvestment Act, where he said that by 2002, 50% of all mortgages would go to low and moderate income buyers, and he was going to make the banks do whatever they needed to do to make that happen. Well, we all saw where that led.
Well, I think the over-deregulation of Wall Street was a close second.
I'm just telling you, there are some skeletons in his closet relative to that. Let's play a what-if game, though. Could Biden beat Hillary?
I think you're personally enamored with Joe Biden. But
I got to tell
He
you,
is very charming.
he is
I mean,
charming.
he's a charming guy.
despite his gaffes, and he's a smart guy.
and he's
Would-
he's also very genuine.
More important, would Biden shoot a shotgun off the roof of the White House in celebration should he get the presidency?
Dude, I don't know.
as long as it's buckshot,
I think
won't
he's
go
been.
far.
I think he's just been so out of the media and just coverage in general. People have kind of forgotten about poor Joe Biden. It's like,
or
eh.
not to cut you off, and I'm
No, that's
sorry.
okay.
To go in Jim's vein of a conspiracy theory, I wonder if maybe the reason Joe Biden has been so quiet, that's been the plan in the White House all along, is to let Hillary crash and burn, and then at the last minute say, well, we got Joe. And everybody will say, thank God, because
One
we're not
has to
getting
wonder.
Adolf or Joseph.
One has to wonder. And the other crazy question is, could Romney have beaten Trump?
No.
The
Oh,
problem
I don't
with
think
Romney, Romney has no, he is the exact opposite of Trump. He is about as exciting as a brick.
Exactly.
Kind of like as exciting as
But can anybody argue that a lot of the points that he made in the 2012 election cycle turned out to be correct?
Really
Russia
did.
as a threat.
Russia, absolutely great
Perfect
point.
example, and that's not the only example. I wonder about that, and again, I like to play those what if scenarios because, well, I'm stupid like that.
But
Well,
at the
you have
end
to
of
be
the day,
charismatic.
well, at the end of the day,
It's not-
voters wanted a non-establishment candidate,
Well, they're getting one.
and they are certainly getting one. But and
it may
unfortunately,
be
I
the
think,
last candidate they ever get.
Well, yeah,
Right.
unfortunately, I think that, Sanders and Trump, people are looking to them as the solution to the problems, but I think that Sanders and Trump are just a symptom of the problem. All right, the core problem is that the two-party system is failing us.
Yes.
and we need to reform it.
You are
All right?
absolutely right.
I am going to just say right now, Gary Johnson, 2016. Feel the Johnson.
I'm not really sure about that one.
I'm not feeling
That may
it.
or may
I'm
not
feeling
be the
it.
best campaign slogan. I will say, however, and, we talk about ourselves as being this paragon of democracy. We have one party more than the communists do.
True. Very
Okay.
true.
So here's another question that I have been thinking about. When's Hogan going to come on and support Trump? Or will he?
I'm not entirely sure that
I don't think
he's
he will.
feeling the Trump right now.
I don't.
Or
I don't
the
think,
Donald.
I don't think he will. I don't think that he'll come out in support of Trump ever. I really don't.
I have to agree. I mean, his favorability rating is great as it is, and I don't
Oh,
think he
yeah.
wants to shake that at all. So I don't think he'd take that
No,
risk.
that would be a very dangerous risk to
Oh,
take. I think the other
absolutely.
thing that really is happening, and I was watching something the other day. Normally once.
But you don't think even after Trump is nominated officially, and somebody says, "Do you support Trump?" A Republican governor is not going to say, "I don't support the Republican candidate?
After becoming the presumptive nominee.
No, I mean the real nominee.
actual-
You can
After
say I
the
support
convention.
the party.
No, but what I'm saying is here in the last little while, and that's a good point. I don't know what's going to happen at that point, but as a governor, he also has to be cognizant of the viewpoint of most of the citizens in the state, which aren't necessarily, they voted a Republican in, and I think most of us are happy with the job he's done.
Well, Trump won pretty big in Maryland, though.
In amongst the voters that are registered Republicans.
Well, that's true.
That doesn't necessarily represent the entirety of the state. We should know that
We're
out
very
here.
diverse. Western Maryland is very different than
So,
our area.
I think the point there being is he's going to have to make a decision based on that. And he's going to have to make a decision based on the fact that since Trump has been the presumptive nominee, whereas most nominees will swing to the center to try to get the centrist votes, he swung more to the right. So that might actually be a bad strategy, or it might be a good one for him. I guess time will tell.
Interesting. Interesting. So anybody have any predictions on Trump's running mate?
I was hoping that maybe the governor from New Mexico, her name is going away from me now. It's female, Hispanic.
Yep, I know who you're talking
So,
about.
and that would really, speak to his need for the Hispanic vote. I mean, I think there was a poll by Latino Decisions found that something like 90% of Hispanic voters have an unfavorable view of Trump.
And I'm not
So-
entirely sure picking a Hispanic running mate would necessarily dent that too much.
Well, it's a female Hispanic, though. That's like a double whammy.
Now, see,
So-
I've heard from Hispanics that ones that are in the country legally already, that they actually like Trump's idea of locking down immigration.
Are these Hispanics that are in
because-
Western Maryland? Because we're crazy out here.
Well, yeah, this is true, but because
And are they
they've
Cuban?
worked so hard to get into the country legally that they don't think it's fair that
Right.
illegals can get in for free.
And I think there's a lot more to that. I think there's a lot more to that particular issue in terms of border control and in terms of immigration and everything. But I think, Ken, you're going to get the last thing. Next up on the flip side, we'll look at a special commission set up to review standardized testing in our schools. Please stay tuned.